by not clicking this button over here, Jay. So that's why I always like to double check. All right, welcome to the Murder Hobo Show. Where's my main window? There it is. Here's our ugly faces, back in action, back in the saddle, ready to rock and roll. Welcome to the RPG Murder... No, wait a second, I screwed that up. I think I'm rusty there, Jay. I botched it, and you're laughing at me. Thanks, pal. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG Show, a proud member of the Tabletop Network. This is episode 25. Kind of. Recorded October 21st, 2020. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo. And I'm here with the man, the mystery meat, the salad-eating six-shooter. I just threw that in there. The one, the only Uncle J. Raz, a.k.a. Captain Colin. What is going on, mon amigo?
Not a whole lot, my man. What's going on with you? In fact, well, you know what? We've really been missing the boat here. Like the fact you call me Captain Colin, you should be calling me Crapton Colin. You know,
Crapton? Oh, that's even better.
Man, yeah, we really missed the boat on there. So I'll just say, what's crapping, Gary? That's what I'm going to say.
I think we need to make like a Murder Hobo RPG cereal now called Crapton Crunch, and it'll just be like little brown looking nuggets.
Little nuggets, yeah. Chocolate flavored, peanut butter flavored. I said peanut butter flavored too, so there's that.
What is the cereal? Because I can't think of it right now. That's Frosted Mini Wheats. It'll look like that, except brown.
Yeah, like chocolate covered or whatever, chocolate frosted.
Just look like hay and straw.
There you go. Yeah, in my case, that's exactly because I on that fiber train.
Yeah. So what do you got going on? What's new and exciting?
Oh, not a whole lot, man. Just coming back, just coming back online after a little bit of break. Had some stuff happen and whatever, but back on the scene and everything like that too. But just looking forward to getting some gaming going on. Actually, not anything online because it's kind of weird. The thing is, like, I work from home, and we've been working from home since the end of February, before even the virus struck. And it's kind of weird because I work from home all the time, and then it's also my source of fun too because I do computer stuff, and it's starting to kind of like blend together and starting to get really weird, So you kind of have to. I kind of have to take a break from stuff from being online for a while or whatever. Or shit. It gets too the fun and work starts colliding. But anyway, talk to my sister, talk to everybody. And said, they want to play a game in person and everything, like my sister and her kids and everything like that. So we decided we're going to start up a game here. Actually, we're going to start it tomorrow, and it's going to be a little post-apocalyptic thing. Now, let me ask you, Gary, since you've actually read a book or two before, that's contrary to what a lot of people believe, though, right?
Just one, not two, just one.
This one or two. Well, no, that one of my favorite books, and actually it's been published. They've actually made like a graphic novel version of this, and so you can actually buy this out. Is The Stand by Stephen King, and I like Stephen King because he essentially writes adult, adult comic books. Like all of these books are like really just they could be translated like into graphic and novels and whatnot. And The Stand is my favorite book, probably by his at least. It's probably my favorite book of all time. And there's going to be a mini series that's coming out. I think it comes out right around the same time that when The Expanse comes out. So like in mid December, there's going to be a mini series that comes out, and so it's post-apocalyptic, and it's really it's like the best way I can describe it. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic American Lord of the Rings.
Nice. The Expanse. One of our favorite shows, one of our bonding moments, kind of a thing. We both realized we love the hell out of that show. What's going on? Because what's his face there got that whole sexual assault thing, and then are they kicking him off the show? Like, what are they doing with that guy? Do you know?
I don't know. He was in the. I saw the trailer for it. Did you see the trailer for season 5?
No, I try not to watch the trailers.
These ones, they just kind of like give you like, okay, this is what you kind of, this is what you can't expect. But no, he's in the trailer. I mean, you don't see him a whole lot, but I mean, he's in there. So you see old, what's his name? Kaz Anwar or whatever, the guy who plays,
something like that.
Yeah.
One of them weird fellas. I think one of the most incredible and stellar moments in that entire show was the space racer guy that just came to a full stop. Oh man, instantly turned into space spaghetti.
Oh, that guy was awesome.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that, yeah.
So, why did you choose? I mean, besides the fact that you love it, that's obviously why you chose it. Why did you not go with the After? We were talking about running that there a little while ago, and that's kind of post-apocalyptic and has some cool elements, and it's also Savage Worlds.
Man, really, it was. I just started looking at modern age, just sort of, um, just started taking a look at that a little further, and I was like, I could really do a lot with this. And also, too, like the thing about it is, man, as I like Savage Worlds, you like Savage, and like everybody who like has played RPGs before and like has like a lot of experience playing RPGs, they go in and play Savage Worlds and they really like it, like me, you, and a lot of these veterans or whatever. But it's kind of like when you start getting like new people to play, or you get new players to the system, and even RPGs in general. It's kind of like I think there's kind of concepts within Savage Worlds that kind of like they don't really get, it's because it's like a non-traditional sort of RPG where like Age is pretty much, it's structured more like a traditional RPG because there's like initiative, there's like you roll for initiative, there's hit points and everything like that too, and there's some ideas that people can really get, really kind of understand right out the gate, and I think it's a better like basic RPG to get into, and there's some other stuff. Then later on, like when you start getting experience, then like, oh, okay, now I know why Savage Worlds is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Modern Age has a nice sort of blend of old school and new school. Like there's some cool
Yeah.
new stuff in it with the 3d6 and rolling those,
Right.
and then you throw in stunts on top of that, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Friggin' fantastic. Like it's just that's some pretty slick ass shit. But then you've got you still have your basic strength, dexterity, all that other stuff. So there is some
Right.
familiarity there. Spells are kind of done the same way, which is pretty nice. Yeah, I can see why you would have chose Modern Age. Besides, you know
Yeah.
what?
Just
Sometimes you got to branch out a little bit too. Like you can't always play the
yeah.
same thing, or you don't really learn anything.
And that's
I
the thing
think.
too, where I've run a little bit of Modern Age before with my sister and them, and they really like it. And actually, my wife is going to jump in. She likes to play occasionally, and so I've told her about the system, and she's sort of fascinated by like, okay, because it seems a little more like my wife really likes structure and everything. She's Capricorn, so that's in her nature. So things have to be laid out and kind of like spelled out, or whatever. She's going to be like, So, with things being a little more abstract in Savage World, she kind of like didn't really get this, but this with with the hit points and rolling for initiative and everything like that too. It makes a little more structurally sense to her.
I see. That is an argument that I have tried to use with my wife pertaining to having sexy time with other ladies. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I like
Yeah.
RPGs. I like wives. I want to try other wives. Maybe trying
Right.
other wives makes me a better original wife player.
And then what does she say? Is like that's a fair point. I'm going to try some other husbands.
Wait
You
a
know.
second. Maybe I need to rethink
Right.
this plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's what you got to think too, man. You got to think like a lawyer.
yeah,
You
I
know.
don't like that at all.
Right.
I thought I was onto something there for a second, and you just kind of
The
kibosh the
script
whole thing.
got flipped.
Man, way to burst my balloon. All right,
Sorry,
well,
bud.
that's okay. Carrying on, man. So this is a
Mhm.
podcast about role-playing games in general, and as usual, we're going to ramble incoherently, like you just saw, in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about, even though we really don't. Disclaimer: I'm adding this to the show. If you came here for some serious information or advice, you're in the wrong place. We are an RPG entertainment podcast. And although you might occasionally be able to glimpse a nugget of truth or inspiration from our many years of gaming experience, like the crumbs from an apple pie, we promise it accidentally fell out of our mouths.
I would say I would go as far to say that we're infotainment. We pass ourselves off as information, but we're really just entertaining ourselves.
We're false news, fake news. That's
Yeah,
what we are.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So with that out of the way, what are we doing today, Jay? What are we going to talk about?
Okay, so what are the most games being played right now on the online? On the online, when I say the online, I talk about the internets, and when I talk about the internets, I'm talking about VTTs. And when I talk about the two biggest VTTs, what are they? They're of course Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. And so, what are the most games that are being played during this pandemic? We're going to discuss that. And we're going to also talk about some RPG sayings, that are traditionally that have just these tenets that have been upheld upon high that they say to never do. We're actually going to call bullshit on those. We're going to say they're actually bad advice. I'm going to put a bug in Gary's ear about some stuff that I should have been doing a long time ago, as far as like a game goes, and that's hazards. And since I'm talking about age and modern age and running this game, I wanted to discuss like hazards and also dipping into the old 3.5 well and going back into the old archives with D20 Modern, what they did for Apocalypse stuff. And you also, Gary, what are something that's pretty cool, but also sort of like, huh? And that's the fantasy map generator.
I got to get some hate mail for the end part too, because man, it's cool, but I really I'm gonna take a poop on it. Is really what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Man, I screwed that up again. I hit my mute button there.
No, don't worry. So let me ask you this, since you already talked to me, man. What have you been getting into this week, or what do you been gaming wise?
Well, gaming wise, I'm going to try and run a makeup game. I spent the last 10 days hunting in Prince George. I just got back, and my game was supposed to be on Sunday. I'm trying to time it so that I do the Wild Eye podcast and my RPG on the same day, and then I can have every second Sunday off so I can sleep in. Otherwise, I get up at I get up at 5 in the morning, 5:45 to do the Wild Eye podcast, and then 6 o'clock 7 o'clock I should say. 6 o'clock we start the pod for about an hour. 7 o'clock I'm running my game. And so if I can do them both on the same day, then I'll have alternating Sundays off, which allows me to go out and get drunk and be stupid every once in a while.
Right.
Which is not a thing that I do often, but do enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So
you're good at it, and so why not?
Right.
Why not take time to enjoy it?
I got a makeup game because this Sunday we did the Wild Eye, which just came out. I think we talked about advancements, and so from there, I'm going to start my next adventure, which is called, I'm doing the ICRPG thing still. That's still going on. I think I got another 3 adventures to go. We're on number 9, and I think there's 12 in total in the first season of the Encounters, which is like the season 1 of D&D Adventurers League kind of a deal. So we're doing. Yeah. I
want to interrupt you really just for a second. So you're essentially taking D&D, like the Encounters. That's sort of like, when you say D&D Encounters, that's sort of like what they're and their Adventure League. That's sort of like what do they call it? Sanctioned games, right?
Yeah.
And they got these sanctioned adventures, and you're just like, okay, this is normally played in 5e. I'm like, well, I'm going to run it in ICRPG because it does things a little more the way that it does things a little cooler.
I am taking it and I'm cutting it apart, and then I am eating it, and then I will poop out a new program, a new, better RPG. So anyways, there's 2 of them. How it works is you have expeditions and I think excursions or encounters. It's one of the 2. They both start with E. One of them is a series of small 3 to 4 hour adventures. There's 12 to 15 of them in a season. They all tell different stories. They're all different adventures, but they all will eventually be part of a greater story that has sort of like an ending kind of a thing. They all come together. And in the first season, it was the Rise of Tiamat or something like that, I think, way back in the day. But then the other one is like, whichever the other one is the long format. It's the single story that takes, weeks to accomplish, like the big campaign instead of like the small. So I'm doing the other one. Anyways, that's neither here nor there, but that's how they work. Every season they came out with a bunch of short little adventures and then one big book. So I did the little short ones. I got 3 more to go, and then I'm done. And then I think it's going to switch back to Savage Worlds, but I'm not sure. I'm going to put on my big boy pants and probably either run Wise Guys, or I'm going to try and run ETU, East Texas University, because I need to dip my toes into the horror field and try and run a little bit more horror stuff. It's not my strong suit, so I need to practice a little bit. So if anybody's interested in joining a really shitty horror game, I'm your guy.
Now I might have to sign up for that because I've never played ETU, and we were going to start running a game. We didn't get very far. I was going to run, get into what is it, degrees of horror, that plot point campaign. But I don't know, everybody just seems kind of mad about it because I think everybody just wants to. But I'm like, once you get into it, you're really going to dig it. Just think about like you guys, you guys are playing college students that just think about like all the shit that you guys get into, and then there's monster, catching on top of that.
Here for the Beerierios said this is hard to masturbate to. No, it wouldn't be for me, buddy. Like seriously,
wrong. Yeah, sorry about your luck there, pal.
Right? These two faces. These are the things that you think about when you're having sexy time with your woman that will keep you from finishing in 30 seconds.
That's exactly what we are. We're the long timers, man. We're there to keep you from shooting your wad there, and a few minutes in. A few pumps in there, pal.
Burn this image into your face. In fact, you know what? Longer. You could probably blow this face up and ask your woman to wear it as a mask.
That's good advice.
Oh my God. Anything in the gaming community that's piqued your interest over the last little while? I will start by saying there is the Foundry, man. I really got to look into this thing. I see so many good things about it. I'm really wishing somebody would pick it up and play it. But
I have it. I need to screw around with it a little bit more. But when I was doing the Modern Age one shot that I did a while back, I was going to do it in Foundry, but I just it was going to take a lot more time than I wanted to spend on it, and so I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go do it in Fantasy Grounds because I know that, and I can get something spun up pretty quickly in that. But I think though, if I do decide to run something online, I think the next thing is going to be Foundry. I need to give it a whirl.
Give it the old college try.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Give it a spin-a-rooney.
There's another dumb saying we could put on the list.
Yep, the old college try.
Right. So you got your stand game tomorrow, and I'm going to do my encounters game on Tabletop Simulator on Sunday. I got this piece of paper that I keep touching that I should probably put down because you're going to hear it crinkling in the podcast. All right. Well, let's get over to what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. Let's talk about the which one of them, what games being played on those two platforms are the most exciting. I think I got a button here somewhere. Let's try this one. There it is, Jay. I missed this song. I really missed this song.
That's a good one. Yay!
Alrighty. So, what are the most played games on Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds for the first quarter of 2021? I'm going to right-click on this little bad boy here, and I'm going to go open link. Let's start with the Roll20 blog. The Orr Group Industry Report, first quarter 2020, re-imaging the classics. I don't know why it says that. Yeah. But, man, they got some stuff going on here. Boy, they get a lot of games playing on here. What do they have, like over 1 million accounts or something on this? I guess that's what happens when you give it away for free, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. So, the campaign percentage. So 2020 has seen some widespread growth for nearly every game. There's going to be a really cool tidbit of info going on here, where you're going to see in the Fantasy Grounds one that I'll bring up here in a second, the spike since COVID's kicked in, which I think is kind of interesting. But I wonder if I should just move this over to this. Let's just do this. And then I'm going to smash this one because I can just go right monitor, and then I can show everybody what you're looking at. I don't have no porn over here, Jay. Right? Are you looking at the Twitch channel? You're probably not. So I don't know if
I am looking at it. That's exactly what I'm looking at.
It'll take a second to come up, but check this bad boy out, man. D&D 5e topping the cake at 50.4% again for the first quarter. It is insane how 5th edition kicks ass and takes names all of the time. Now, are you big into Call of Cthulhu? This is another thing that I don't get, and I should have put a little more time and effort into this, but
I have it, but that's another one that nobody's gonna sit there and want to play that because they know in the end what's gonna happen. They know.
Right.
They
So
know.
you got 15.58% uncategorized. What falls into uncategorized? Because when you start looking at the list, they pretty much name every system.
I'm gonna say the ones that I say that are not on the list on the regular list that would have to be uncategorized. I would say probably Cypher, I see Savage Worlds, what else? And everything else that doesn't fall under those main. Oh, Genesis, in that
There's
sense. Anything
there's
else that doesn't fall under those big ones, because they even World of Darkness games are listed in the main percentile,
so you
not
got
in this uncategorized category. But yeah, that's what I'm guessing. It's stuff like Cipher,
they got Cypher right
numeric.
here at 0.2%. You've got what else is down here? Did I see Numenera? There's Dungeon World is not even 0.4%, it's 0.39%. GURPS 0.27%. Like all of these
Yeah,
are right around 0.25%. AD&D first edition and second edition are almost like 0.25%. That is freaking crazy, man.
yeah,
Mutants and Masterminds 0.23. Cypher System.
yeah.
It is crazy how well fifth edition does, like how much it just blows everything out of the water. The next nearest competitor is the Call of Cthulhu Any Edition, 12.15%.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah.
Pathfinder falls in at a 4.49%. D&D 3.5 is at 1.36%. Something I would like to try is Warhammer. I really enjoyed the video games when they were out, the different characters and stuff like that. That falls in at 1.3%. Excuse me. Which beats Pathfinder Second Edition at 1.23%. What else we got on here that's any good? Savage Worlds, one of our favorite systems,
Yep.
0.46%. And I like how there's a
Yep.
little divider here. I wonder why that's there, because I feel like Savage Worlds is it's like the 10th place runner up kind of a thing in a list of
Right.
10, right?
No, it's
It,
its own category then. See, I didn't see. I was looking above at the pie charts, but no, down here in the complete summary,
yeah.
yeah, it has it listed down here below that, and yeah, it's not even in the uncategorized. So it is. I mean, but yeah, just think there's only out of all of this only like point 5, and it doesn't even mention any ICRPG or anything like that
Hey,
either.
hey,
And
hey.
that's probably. No,
Spin it.
I'm just saying, dude. I'm just like, let's call a spade, man. That's exactly.
Spin
I
it
mean,
back a notch,
fantasy age is like
mister.
0.1, and I had to scroll all the way down. Torg is 0.1. So, I mean, hell yeah, you think about it. The, yeah. And why is it? Now, I'm going to ask you, and like, there's probably so many answers to this question, or um, so many theories and so many reasons why. But I'm gonna throw this out at you. Like, why do you think D&D 5e is the be all end all as far as like everything goes? What are the reasons? What do you
If I
think?
had to throw down just a blanket statement, I'm going to say because it was here first, even if it wasn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was the first one to come sort of like full fruition. It got all of that recognition back in the day for being the demonic, with the demons and whatever. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart, but you know what I mean, right? It got all of that attention, which really helped bring it to fruition. Sadly enough, I'm going to shoot back over here to our whatchamacallit while I tell you my little story here. My cousin Laura phoned me the other day, and she sent me she left me a message saying that her son Mateo wants to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons. Naturally, I was enthusiastic and excited, but I would really like to sway his little mind into Savage Worlds or
Yeah.
ICRPG on a
Right.
side shoot, just to get him out of. I don't want to say that, right? I mean, D&D's great. Like, I love
Yeah.
D&D. If anybody ever asked me to play a game of D&D, I'm in. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Um, but if you had to choose out of some of these, there's just some that I would put in top. Like Savage Worlds, I'm surprised doesn't do much better than it does. You shoot way down to the bottom, like GURPS. I hear about GURPS all the time. Why is it not,
Mm.
up higher in the list? Feng Shui. We you guys played that a little while ago with Eric Lamoureux, which is
Yep.
Robin Laws wrote that. Is that who that was? I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of a great system. I don't know if it's a great system, but you know what I mean. It's sort of a well-known kind of a deal, but it's way down in 0.1%. See what else is down here. Genesis.
D20 Modern. D20 Modern, which I'm going to talk about. People are still playing that, and you know why people are still playing that? Because it's an offshoot of 3.5, and we go back up here. 3.5 in and of itself has 1.3%, 1.36% of the games that are going, being logged in at Roll20.
I found it. Index Card RPG Core 2E, 0.02%. That it made the list is impressive, to be honest with you.
Well, Icon, yeah, it's this right around here in the same realm as Icons and Lasers and Feelings.
Yeah, Lamentations of the
There it is. And actually, there's more people playing that than Fantasy Age, and that's down here at the 0.01.
Yeah, that kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Well, ICRPG is really good, don't get me wrong, but the Age system is fantastic too. I'm going to make my own system, and I think that's what we're going to do in the next show. I think what we're going to do in the next show, episode 26, is going to be build your own RPG, Jay. So you got a bit of time to do some homework. But I think what we should do is a show on if I was to build a game, because I've been talking about this for the last little while. I'm going to do Gartar. I'm going to create my little Gartar. Yeah. Why not?
You should. Well, I mean, yeah, you should. I mean, and there's plenty of resources, opportunities to allow you to do so. So yeah, you should make Gartar its own setting/system.
Right. I think that I just might actually not put any time and effort into that and just say some things.
No, I think you should. I think that's the best ideas are always the ones that are just right off the cuff and never researched or or tested out or anything like that. That's a proven fact.
So you do have the Age system coming in at 0.5%. It is literally like 2 points below Genesis at 0.7%. And what else we got in here that's worthy of speaking? Dungeon Crawl Classics, DCC, comes in at 0.9%, so that's kind of cool. I mean, it's in there. Mm-hmm. These are systems that you hear about all the time. 13th Age, another one, 0.18%. It's doing quite well. Cypher's in there at 0.2%. So yeah, I mean, there's, but yeah, it's just crazy that D&D 5th edition comes in at 50.4%. I mean, is anybody really excited? Or not excited, surprised by that? Because I know really I'm not. But let's go check out, hey, get out of here. I can't get this thing to disappear. Top RPG games. Let's hit this one, Jay.
Yep.
Open link. We're going to smash this button and do this is where it's going to get interesting because this is the Fantasy Grounds 2019 to 2020. They break it down by games played, and then there's like a few other things. Well, at least they break down the other system as well. But this isn't done by, I guess it is too. So 921,000. Wait a second. Also, a lot of what we're doing here too, guys, for those people that are listening to the podcast, Wednesday night, every second Wednesday night, you just follow us on the Twitch channel, which is why I'm talking about showing people things, because we are doing a vlog and just converting the vlog into a podcast. Now, with that said, where is my right monitor? Here you go. For those of you watching at home, check this out. You've got 5th edition that rolls in at 921,755 games. 68% of the sessions run between 2019 and 2020. What is the 5th month? May?
Yep.
68% 5th edition. Craziness.
Then we go to the 8% is Pathfinder. And we have another. How big is that? Well, the other chunk. No, that's still not. Yeah, it's a sizable chunk, but it's not as big, I don't think, as. Or wait, let me see here. No, it's just slightly smaller than so it's like 7% or something like that, and that includes the core RPG system, which nobody, they can't really. Nobody. It's since it's a basic system, you can't really like designate. People could use that to play whatever on that.
Yeah, that's sort of the beauty of it.
Little Mutants and Masterminds, little Cypher system, Little Castle Crusades, little War Slammer.
Look at this one here, Jay. You've got more core in at 28,279 games.
Yeah.
About 11,000 more games than core. Now, more core was made by somebody, one of the community members, and
Yep.
and it's got more use than the core RPG, which is
Right.
actually pretty funny.
Fun fact: at least 8,279 of those are my games, or ones that
Right?
I've spun up just for that.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, I'm going to make a theme. And more.
48,625 Savage Worlds games. So it's Savage Worlds has
Yeah.
fallen in pretty close to the Pathfinder RPG 2. But here's where it gets really cool. You want to look at this little piece here, game sessions by top rule sets. So this is through to like May 27th. Look at the spike on this section right here. So we go from about Fantasy Grounds is pumping out about 60,000 gaming sessions per month, give or take. It
Yep.
fluctuates up and down a little bit until you get to the second month of 2020. And then on the third month, which would be March of 2020, the games
Sure.
almost double. If you look at 5th edition, had 57,000 games during the month of February. In March, it had 110, almost 111,000 games. And then it spiked again for the next month, almost 143,000 games. You come down to the bottom and look at Savage Worlds. It went from an average of about 3,000 games to 5,000 games in March and 7,500 games in February before it started to come back down. I wish we had more numbers, but isn't it fascinating how COVID's affected the number of online games by so much?
Oh yeah, it ran everybody to the VTTs. And in fact, just think of what else got. Just think like during that time, that's when they released. What was that one that you guys that looks like the friggin' oh yeah, Tailspire. They also that got thrown out. And there was now Foundry's being released, and there's somebody else just somewhere I was looking at too. There's there's like all these little VTTs that are popping up.
You looked like you were like digging for China when I popped the main window back up, and I was so fascinated by watching you that I didn't want to tell you that you
Didn't know
looked
what I
like
was doing. I was like,
you looked
I
like
don't
you were
know.
adjusting
I
your.
might have been scratching my balls. You don't know.
There's that.
You don't know my life.
There's that one guy back there, Mister Here for the Beef Man. He said this is hard to masturbate. It didn't look like you were having any problems.
Hey,
We got
hey.
Rattle back in the channel, man. How's it going, buddy? So Bell still has not played Savage Worlds. I will remedy that. I will run you through a game of Savage Worlds. I just need to put it together because you are missing out, sister. Savage Worlds is a fantastic and amazing system. Has some cool
What
features.
have you, Bell? What have you mainly played a lot of?
I would say D&D
D&D.
is what she's going to say. Oh,
Man,
there's
see,
Toki
that's
too.
like.
All these scumbags that I know.
No, I'm just wondering because I just wonder if it's a lot of D&D and if I think there's a lot of because I've never played any World of Darkness games and those games have kind of eluded me. So I just wanted to know like what that was on a lot of other people's radar if they weren't playing D&D.
Oh, she's played some Pathfinder too. PF Puff.
Yeah.
Now
Pathfinder.
That is Pathfinder and not Pussyfinder, right?
Yeah, that's right. Old Mathfinder.
Spadoo. All right, well, that's it in a nutshell. We're going to put those to rest, man. That is topic one. The most played games on Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds without surprise, are 5th edition. And with all the rest trailing by just a disgustingly low amount. It's very disheartening.
It makes you wonder like whether or not like these other groups, man, they need the PR that Wizards of the Coast have or something like that too. Like, hey, we count too, guys, blah blah blah. But then again, I don't know. There's also the pitfalls of like becoming too big because I mean, look at what's going on with Wizard of the Coast now and all the shit that's happening with them too. So maybe they're like, okay, yeah, we're only happy like this many people are playing the game. We don't want to get too big and spin out of control and have to worry about being huge corporate assholes.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
You taking a peek at Baldur's Gate in the last little while?
The video game.
Yeah.
No, I'm no, because I don't play when it comes out. If they make one for the console, I'll look at it, man. But yeah, because I don't play PC games. But I mean, it looks just for like the character creator looks good. That's all I've seen of it.
Yeah, I've been watching a couple of people play like on Twitch and stuff. Oh my god, I'm yawning.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna. It's like anything, man. I'll pick it up on Steam when it goes on sale next Christmas, kind of a thing. I'll get it for $5 instead of paying like $100 for it, and then I'll just at least by then all the content and all the bugs, well, most of them will be worked out anyway. That's generally how I roll. I only play games that I can turn off and walk away from now, because I used to play World of Warcraft with these guys, with Toki and Rattle and my buddy Jay. Knobby Sausage is his code name, and so. But yeah, I spent way too much time playing those stupid games. Like we're talking, it was almost divorce court, so I stopped. I took up gardening after that.
Had to tighten that ship up.
Oh man, it was that, or I was going to spend the rest of my life solo, living alone, masturbating in my basement.
Right. At least you know how to cook, though, man. I mean, that goes a long way. And what do you?
This is true. I mean, you can tell by looking at me, I know how to cook.
Right, same here.
Hey, you don't get
I was going to be all right.
You don't get this fat. Well, I guess you do get this fat going to McDonald's all the time too. So, let's pop over to the next little topic that I would like to talk about: RPG sayings that are actually bad advice. What do you think about that, Jay? We're going to touch on this topic here.
Let's talk about some nuggets of wisdom that have been passed down, through either best practices or just tribal knowledge. What they tell you the whole time when you start getting in this hobby of ours. What do they tell you?
Well,
what's the number one thing they tell you, Gary?
Let's start with number one. What's the first thing on the list, man? Don't split the party. Right? You always hear that. Why? Tell me, Jay. Tell me why.
Because if you split the party, here's what happens: is one, you're leaving yourself open to some big attack where you don't have full strength, where you don't have the complete force multiplier of your whole party. You're just leaving that. That's pretty much why. Because let's say the wizard and the thief go off to scout the left side of the the fork in the road, and the warrior and the cleric, they go to scout the right side of the road. What happens when the wizard and the thief, they run into a couple skeletons, and they don't have the cleric to do is turn undead, sort of thing. Or if there's a fire elemental and they don't have any, the inverse, if the warrior, the cleric, they run into a fire elemental, they can't stop it with what they have.
Wow, really?
That's the wisdom behind that.
I was like, is that the best you could come up with?
What am I supposed to? What do you want me to come up with?
Hey man, I don't know. I felt like I kind of put you on the spot there, so I mean, you got what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny.
This live Twitch.
Right. It's funny that you hear this all the time. Don't split the party, because really, what is the wisdom behind it? You're going off at half strength with, you're missing half your party, or you know what I mean. You're which is really weird, because like, is that the only thing that you can do is fight? You know what I mean? Like when you see people, you can't just turn around, run away, and go back to your party, or you know what I mean? Like or why not just be like a cool GM and not have them get into a battle? They go off and they're looking for information. Make it encounter appropriate, so that if they're rummaging through the library, you can, just make them fight the librarian, who's like, maybe she's like a weak old granny with a broom that'll just smash you in the face, kind of a thing.
Right. You just kind of elbow drop her and be done with it.
That's what I would do. I mean, that's what I do to all old women that I find, because,
What I found out, like I don't like, I see where you're coming from in this. And you know what? You're absolutely right, because that's sort of the old mentality, like, oh, you split the party, this adversarial GM is going to drop the thunder on you. And yeah, that's right. That's why you don't, that's why you just get it in your head that you don't split up the party, because that's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, you're right. You can be a cool GM and you can let that not happen. So there you go. And there's also too, like, what I've done before is I've had the party split up, and I'm like, all right, so while this is happening, we're gonna go ahead and cut to John over here, who's gonna, we're gonna like like as far as like TV, like if you can visualize like what you're doing is like a TV show, it's like just cutting to another scene, you know.
Right. I mean, that's how you're going to handle it, right? I think it's a
Yeah.
thing that DMs basically say so that it makes their job easier when everybody stays together and they're in sort of one cohesive group, and you're not narrating and doing some other things. But ICRPG handles this wonderfully. It is super easy to do when you're playing ICRPG and you just have like a go around the table kind of a thing. Because I deal with player one. If they're off in the library, I can describe the library. I can have them interact with the librarian. Do
Yep.
basically whatever I want. And then as soon as they need to make a dice roll, that's sort of the way that it's set up. You just do the cutscene, split off to the next guy. Number two, he's out in the barn talking to the guy that does the keeps the animals and
Yeah.
shovels the shit kind of a thing. And he's out there scooping it away. You can have your guys talk to him, looking for information, get little nuggets of goodness and stuff like that. Oh, wait a second. Now they're talking about Deviant Mark. So yeah, ICRPG handles it wonderfully, which is fantastic, and that is a way to handle it. Just do a cutscene and don't spend too long on each person. Don't worry about the egg timers. Don't worry about
Yeah.
keeping track of the time. Just be aware of it before you go into it. That you're going to spend a couple of minutes with each player or each group, talking to them, flesh something out. When that party rolls the dice, split over to the other group, and then they're walking through the rich aristocrat's house, looking for evidence for whatever, and you can deal with them, and you can go back and forth. I would stray away from putting your players into combat if you're going to split the party. And the reason is because combat can be, especially in D&D 5, it can be time consuming. And it's
Yeah.
that will be an odd situation in which your party Dutch rudder. Giddy up, sister. That brings back some memories, Jay. One of these days when we get together, I'm going to give you a Dutch rudder.
Uh-oh. No, you ain't.
Oh, what?
No. Then you got to get the old. Then you got to get the British Columbian Twister.
Ooh. That's exciting.
Yep.
Okay, so anyways, back to what I was saying. That's if you're going to split the party, keep combat out of the situation, or do some quick way of resolving combat, some kind of dramatic task or something that doesn't take too long.
Yeah.
Anything that you can do to stop from spending 30 minutes with one group while the other guys sit there.
Yeah.
So I think splitting parties top notch. I would do it all the time. In fact, I'm going to split this party right now.
There you go. What I'm going to end up doing like tomorrow night is because the game is going to start off in the Northeast, like everybody's just kind of like spread out, like in roughly in New England, and so I'm going to have to get everybody together somehow. But we're going to have to play like they're a little each separately until they get to the point. But everybody's going to be together. Everybody's going to be together at the table, but I'm going to have to do things separately. Like, okay, I'm going to focus on how John's going to get here, and I'm going to focus how Jason's got to get here. I got to focus on, like that here. But everybody's like, I'm going to be like, so treat this like you're watching a TV show. Then I'm going to do this. We got to do John's chapter or John's the A story. Then Jason's going to be the B story, and then Rachel will be the C story, and we'll get that. That's how we're going to have to treat it.
Have you ever started the party apart and not together, and then dealt with them as individuals around the table, and then bring them all together as sort of like a cohesive unit? They all end up at the same inn looking for the same thing because different people have approached them.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm going to treat this. Well, the big thing with this too is because in the stand, there, what draws everybody what's the big driving force in the stand. What gets everybody, from everybody out of that is they have these prophetic visions of this woman out in, this old woman out in Nebraska, and she says, "Come meet me out here. We're going to meet up at this place."
Come out to the old farm.
Or migrate that way, or some people dream about this, the dark man or whatever, who's pretty much, he, might as well be the devil.
Hey, that's not very politically correct, mister.
Do what?
The dark man? We don't talk about, Black Lives Matter, buddy.
Be quiet.
So what's
Be
this with?
quiet.
There's an old lady on a
She,
farm. Does she live alone?
yeah, she's 108, dude. So I'll just leave it at that. And Whoopi
Hey,
Goldberg's gonna play her in the miniseries. So there you
even
go.
108-year-old ladies need sweet lovin's.
Hey, if you want to break all up in that, you go right ahead.
I'll probably
You
break
know.
it because she probably has osteoporosis and hasn't had milk
Oh,
in some
I
time.
bet you those bones are like her legs would be like butterfingers at that point. Crush them.
Snap her legs apart like a chicken wing out of a what are the wishbone out of a turkey.
Yeah, jeez.
Okay, stop talking about my grandma like that, you lunatic.
I, okay, all right.
Um,
Sorry, Grandma. Sorry, Grandma McCallum, who's
this one,
108 and sexy.
this one we've talked about before. Don't railroad your players. I think this is actually bad advice, Jay. How do you feel about
Well,
that?
well, don't railroad your players. I mean, I think that's well, we know how we feel about that, man. I was like, well, people are gonna get on board. Like, I get, and what I gotta say. It's kind of bullshit when you think about it because you have to have a session zero and tell everybody what's going on. Okay, this is what's happening here. This is what's going on here. This is what's going on here. And somebody says, okay, we're gonna play Deadlands. We're gonna play this in the Old West. And somebody says, I'm gonna play a gunfighter. Okay, I'm gonna play a bounty hunter. Okay, and somebody says, I'm gonna be a time traveling wizard from the planet Zorp. I'm like, no, the fuck, you're not. So
Tell me more about
there
this
you go.
planet Zorp.
Well, that's all in my manifesto that's coming out later this month.
Oh, does that come out after you blow up a building?
That no, man, I'm talking about well, if Zorp commands me, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I can hail Zorp. Anyway,
Zorp commands me. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't
Oh
know.
man, that was
I
good.
can't. Um, that's the thing too. That it's a bullshit statement to say that you're not going to railroad their players when it's sort of it's when you have to have a session to explain exactly what you're doing. This is not you. There is no such thing as a total freeform game where you can do fuck all and do whatever you want to. It doesn't exist. So in a sense, every game that you play is on tracks, is on a rail somehow. You know?
Yes, we've
What
touched
that
on
means,
this.
railroading is a bullshit term. Don't stymie your players is a better phrase. Don't tell them no. To tell them yes, but that's what it's talking about. The game is on fucking rails anyway. Let's leave it at that. Don't stymie your players, but the game is on a track. Just being real.
Right. I just think that it's such bad advice that people just throw it out there. Don't railroad your players. I say, and because we've already done an episode on this, I'm going to keep this one short. But I say railroad your players because it already is a railroad. If you've decided to go kill the ogre in the castle, and halfway between you go to another town and help somebody clean their basement out of rats, you're still on the track that takes you to the ogre in the castle. You've just taken a little side train track to go do this other thing. So I feel that you're always on railroad tracks. Also, if you put your players on a railroad track on railroads, and you almost have to do it in today's online environment. You can play a game. This is just my personal opinion because I've said this before. I think theater of the mind games are shit, and the reason I think they're shit is because if you approach a game where anything can happen, you're not prepared for anything that can happen, and you'll end up looking stuff up. Especially if you play D&D 5e, because nobody can memorize all of those statistics. You need to know the armor class of certain things, and you need to know like the hit points of certain things. And if your players are walking through the wilderness and you want to throw an encounter at them and you're playing freeform, it's just going to be a freaking nightmare when you're looking those things up, which is, I think, a bigger detriment to the game is stopping to read the rule books while you're playing a game. It's one of the reasons that I enjoy Tabletop Simulator so much as an online VTT as opposed to Fantasy Grounds. I'm not trying to talk poorly of Fantasy Grounds. I think it's great. It is my second go-to of choice, and I'm highly invested in it. But the one thing that makes me want to play Tabletop Simulator more than Fantasy Grounds is when you get 5 mooks in Savage Worlds, you have to click on each mook, select your target, roll your dice, do all of the determinations, move to the next mook, and it can become very time consuming, and it's a thing that I'm not a fan of. But yeah, I feel railroad your players, be prepared, and tell your players, just get on board. We're going to go from scene A to scene B to scene C. Throughout each of those scenes, I have prepared a thing that will be entertaining. The story will be good. You're free to do whatever you want inside of those scenes. But just go from scene 1 to scene 2. Let's make our way to the ogre in the castle and kick his ass and have fun doing it. Don't try and go off and rescue the princess, because I don't have that shit prepared. I don't know what's up. You know what I mean? I like being prepared. I think preparedness.
We'll do that. We'll do that princess shit later. Tell them that, like, I'm not going to leave that princess shit off the table. That's a good idea, but we'll do that next time. Like today, let's worry about the ogre first. You guys are like jumping the gun here, man. I got to get the ogre. The ogre's got to tell me where the princess is.
Yeah, I think
I don't know that shit.
Right.
Even as GM, I don't know that shit. The ogre's got to,
I'm not prepared, and I don't want to start pulling out my books to prepare it. But in today's, I think that's the reason that I find this is a shit saying. Don't railroad your players. There's degrees to which you should railroad your players, and the point at which you shouldn't is the point at which you're taking away their player agency. Right, freedom inside of a scene, but let's just go from scene A because that's sort of how the story goes. And that's my thoughts on it. I'm down with railroading. Choo choo.
Choo choo.
This one, I don't know where I got this one from. Somebody had said it. The GM is always right. I feel like that's bad advice because you know what? There's some crappy GMs out there, right? I mean,
there is.
Point case.
There is, and I'm going to have to put a caveat on that. The GM is not always right, but the GM is always right at that time. That's the thing, though. I like if the dude's running the game, he's a GM, and you don't have to go along. You don't have to necessarily go along with it, but that means you can always take a hike.
I think that the GM is right until the game is over, and then you start looking at the rules. Then if the GM's wrong, straight up punch to the nuts, buddy. Straight up.
If somebody's got a problem like that, somebody's like, well, somebody wants to argue the rules. That's why I like playing with new players, man. They don't really argue the rules, and they don't really read anything, so I can just say what happens goes.
And they'll never even question you because they have no
idea. I don't question me, man. They're like, all of my players are like, okay, yeah. And I'm like, nah, that's how it goes. But anyway,
one of the rules for this kobold is you have to take your shirt off, young lady.
All right. Yeah. That says,
It says right here.
And they're like, can I see the book? I'm like, well, I'll show it to you later. We'll do that later. And then by the time they want to see the book, I'm like, see you.
Wow. You've pieced out the back door. All right, everybody.
I actually have put all the rule books out on the table and everything like that. So I try to get them interested in reading the damn things because I'm like, shit, it'd be nice if one of you start picking this up and start wanting to GM. Actually, I like GMing too much, man. And they like me, and I buy all the shit for it anyway too. I'm the one spending the goddamn money. I might as well GM.
Right.
That's the way I see it. I'm the one chilling it out. You guys are just plopping your asses in seats.
Other bad advice. This one's from John Marlin. You need to prepare for anything the party may decide to do.
That goes back to the railroad and the players and everything like that too.
This is why it's bad advice. How can you prepare? Like you hear these things in the RPG world. Be prepared for anything the party may decide. How can you be? You don't know what they're going to come up across or what they're going to throw your way or where things are going. That's why it's called a collaborative story. I tell a bit of it, you tell a bit of it.
Yep. And then you guys gotta say, yeah, okay, that's you go ahead and make that determination.
Can you ever really prepare for a party that goes into like an old geriatric facility and just starts like openly gunning them down? Can you ever really prepare for that?
No, you can't prepare for, but you can just decide to say, all right, fuck it, and you can pull the plug. You can do that, but also too, you can't really prepare for that. But also too, like. If the party, what you need to do is prepare to tell the party not to be fucking assholes, if they're going to do some shit like that too, Like, well, we're
Oh,
gonna go to the nursing home. We're gonna gun down some people. I'm like, no, you're not. You're gonna come. First of all, this is medieval friggin'. This is Westeros. What do you guys? There's no nursing facility here. There are not even guns here. We're playing medieval fantasy.
wow, you are
What the
on
hell are you
fire
guys
tonight,
talking about?
Jay. You sir
What's
are.
that?
You said you sir are on fire tonight.
Am I?
Hey, not
Well,
taking
thank
any
you.
guff from those players. You know what? I don't even think that the X card could prepare you for like playing a Crocodile Dundee or some kind of Outback Down Under adventure where a player wants to go off and have sexy time with a kangaroo, right?
It's like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, if you all right, like you go ahead. I'm like, all right, you go ahead and play that game by yourself in the bathroom. We're gonna play this game right here.
come, come back when you've finished.
Yeah, come back when you've completely sanitized yourself and you're ready to sit down at the table and act like a grown up or
Well,
not.
last but not least, Eric Lambhead Face. This is another thing that I was asking some people about because there's a couple of videos on the internet where, and I've heard not only on these videos but on different podcasts and stuff like that, where it is becoming a thing that is. I don't think it's a thing that's a thing, but what I mean is it's a thing that's been thrown into my sphere for some reason in my RPG bubble. I have seen this a couple of times. And then Eric brought it up, Eric Lambhead Face. He said it's okay to fudge dice rolls. Why is that bad advice, Jay? Tell me. Tell me a story, Uncle Jay.
I used to back when I got back in a GM and on a regular basis, and this was like about 4 years ago, and started to do it. Starting to get back into it and get my feet wet back again. Um, Actually, no, yeah, it started. It was about 4 years ago because it started. Yeah, it was about 4 years ago when I started back up again with this one group or whatever. And I didn't want to, and I guess I was just being really trepidatious. And so I didn't let them fail at anything, man. I fudged the hell out of dice rolls. And then I realized too that like the whole time we played, I think this was like we were playing a supers game or whatever. It just felt like they weren't really being challenged at all. I'm like, man, I'm a chump. Why did I let that happen? I mean, because at the end of the day, like I don't know, unless like you really have like a shit garbage life and you need to like go into RPG just to really, really make yourself feel good and just want to be like the complete super, uber, badass and nothing bad happened to you and do all that. And if you need that in your life, just let me know up front and we'll go ahead and do that. And nothing bad will happen to you. But like the whole point in playing a lot of these games too is just like to experience some sort of like overcoming the challenge because that's a lot more rewarding to me than it is just walking the park, just you know squishing ants, I guess.
I
So
think the only time it's okay to fudge dice rolls is if you're playing with small children and you're using
yeah.
the dice just as a showpiece, a tool,
Hmm.
not even so much a learning mechanism. Do you know what I mean? It's
Right.
something so that when you're telling a story, you can throw the dice down there and make it look like the dice are saying it, kind of a thing. And then if
Yep.
the dice say you need to die, you can
Right.
you could fudge
No,
those rolls.
it's a rainbow magic ice cream party.
Right. It is not okay to fudge the dice ever. As a
Nah,
as a as a grown ass person, I should say.
no, you're
Right.
doing yourself a disservice, man. And like you start thinking about it and putting things in perspective, like why even play a damn game where there's rules and dice even in the first place if you just want to, you know, if you don't want to be challenged or anything. That's just playing make believe. I'm like, well, why don't you, if you don't want to have any adversity or any challenge or anything happen to what your concept of a character is, then yeah, then take that character out of the game and put him in your daydreams where he belongs and daydream in your fantasy world where nothing bad ever happens to him and he can overcome everything because the dice are the perfect arbiter of this the dice and rules are a perfect arbiter of your imagination because sometimes your imagination will run away with you and that's why you need these things to contain that.
Yeah, it's we play a collaborative storytelling game that
Hmm.
uses dice as a conflict resolution tool.
Yes.
If
uh
those dice
we
arbitrate that your character needs to die, I hear people say, "Well, that's not really any fun." But then I think to myself, "Who are you to be the judge of what some person's fun?" Maybe I think this is the one thing too and one of the reasons I don't play fifth edition. It's so easy to say dislike, but one of the reasons I stopped playing fifth edition is because when I found Savage Worlds, it's very cool that you have a 3-wound system and each wound actually means a thing. And you
Yep.
can have all 3 wounds removed from you in a single blow on a lucky die roll. That brings the realistic threat element to like an all new level, and that was amazing. Unlike fifth edition, where it's a hit point attrition system, and like no matter if you're over level 5, you're not dying on your first attack. You can just, it lets you do dumb things, but it is not okay to fudge dice rolls ever as a grown ass adult, and to use the
No.
excuse that if you're fudging the dice rolls to keep somebody from dying is a better treatment for their fun. I think that's a bullshit excuse, because that's just your opinion saying he's going to have a better time if he doesn't die. Sometimes dying is actually like a cool, memorable thing that you can do.
Yeah, and who's to say that, like, it's one of, when the prospect of death is out there, it makes, it makes these choices a little more, it makes you want to make like the choices more important, or make them more meaningful. But also too, like, just because your character dies doesn't mean that the story doesn't, the story dies. I mean, just your character, and that's the thing. So you got to realize that, I mean, you're part of, you're a part of something greater than your character. And just make another one, damn it. Who make one like, okay, this one was cool, but but he wasn't really all that great in combat. No, like, go make you that badass combat monkey that you really want to make, that you really wanted to make in the first place, because your weak ass character died.
The only time that it would really suck, I guess, is if it was a TPK and then the story was over.
Yeah.
I think
You know what? If that was the case too, if it was a TPK, I would, and everybody was so invested. I'd be like, all right, man. Through like one person's able to, like, the medic survives. The
right.
medic, the medic are like, okay, because if they were using a system where there were bennies or whatever, and it'd be like, the one TPK, I'd float like I'd be like, here, medic, there's one Benny over here that I misplaced. Grab that, see if you can soak with it, and see if you can, help out.
Yeah.
You know.
It- People need to learn how to run away. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And just because you're in a damn game and you're presented with a challenge doesn't mean you can't overcome that challenge at any given moment. If you're plucky and try hard enough. No, sometimes you're gonna get your ass whooped.
Okay, I'm going to quickly do this map generator thing that came up. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
here. I want to go to I go to copy that, and then I'm going to go over here and see if I can't paste this into here. And then I'm going to click into excuse me, my right monitor one. Here we go. So this is the generator, Jay. We've now moved on to another topic. Those were some bad advice things. We're going to put those in a nutshell. These maps, although cool, I find are somewhat utterly useless. And I wouldn't say utterly useless. I find them to be the least useful kind of map that you can have, if that makes sense. This one is
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of cool because you can change things here. So you've got, there's different presets. You can have political, cultural, religions, provinces, biomes. It's got a few different things on it, right? Pure landmass, military maps, and stuff like that. So you can sort of change the gist of it. This is like, this one here says it's a religions map. Let's make a provinces map. And then there you go, right? It changes over. Now, this isn't really going to be too shit hot for people listening at home, but this is asgar.github.io fantasy map generator. I will put a link in the description on the show notes so that you guys can go check this out. But basically what this is a standard world map, I guess is what it is. I see a lot of people doing this, like WASD20, and some, there's some other people and stuff that do it. But in a fantasy game, how many times are you going to bring this up or refer to this map or do a thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, I find that you're so zoomed in that these maps, although they might be like cool for maybe like the opening page if you're making an RPG book, I don't find them to be much more useful than that. But this one is very cool. It is free. You can change things from like like I say, from biomes. That's actually kind of cool. You can click back here and smash new map, and it'll like build a new one for you. Let's
The
go back
biome's
to
really cool, man. I like that. It shows, where all your, all your vegetation, all your, your rainforest and stuff is that too. And I like that ice
right.
map too. That's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great idea if you need, because this is a map you're going to use. I wouldn't say you're going to use it one time, but in all of my gaming experience, I've barely used these things ever. Even when I was playing like 50 Fathoms, which has a really cool map for Charybdis and stuff like that, I would maybe show that map. I guess that's probably the most use I got out of it, but it's such a small map that you are actually going from sort of continent to continent, so maybe that would be the use that I would get out of it. This is a free fantasy map generator. I just personally, this is where I think the hate mail is going to come in, but I don't find these to be very useful. Now, if this was like a random dungeon generator or a random adventure battle map thing, I think it would be cool. But although it is kind of neat generating different things, like it pulls up the names, it pulls up the areas, you can change the different things. So that's political, there's cultural. It's got rivers. You can change all sorts of things on it, the scale bar. Very neat, very interesting. I thought that was pretty slick. It's called asgar.github.io fantasy map generator. Interesting, but it really is just the top map. You use these at all, Jay?
Not really, because a lot of times I'd say these are good if you're like trying to world build and you need some ideas, and you're like, oh, I need a quick map, and you're like, and if you could edit everything, edit the fields and whatnot, and you need a quick map of your, Unger Garba blah 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 world or whatever you want to call it, whatever fantasy,
I might use it for Gartar.
Yeah, there you go. You can use it for Gartar, and you can, and if you can fill in the fields and you can name the countries and the provinces, whatever you want to, yeah, I'd say knock it out.
I'm not going to put that kind of effort into it. Are you kidding?
No, that's not what Gartar is about.
No,
Gartar is the spirit of Gartar.
Drinking beers and half-naked sexy ladies.
Right.
Okay, what do we got here? We're an hour and 7 minutes into the show. We got to do hazards in age and D20 modern.
Do you want to? We don't have to. We can put those off for another time, my man.
Why don't we do that? We're an hour and 7 minutes in it. Let's hit the outro and caller. We'll put a pin in this thing. It'll give us something to talk about when we fail the next show for our stupid Gartar thing we're going to do.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, and also, too, I can actually put these in play. Because I might actually got to roll this stuff out tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and I can tell you how it goes out.
Yeah, then not only will you be able to tell us how cool they are, you'll also be able to tell us how they actually worked in real action.
Yes, ma'am.
Outro bedliner. Here we go. And we reduced the volume a little bit as we bust out our sultry tones.
Yes.
That's it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG Show. We hope you enjoyed it. And now that we've changed networks, I always say neckworks. Neckworks. I don't know why, but I have a hard time saying networks. Now that we have changed networks, guess what, Jay?
We care.
That's right. We care.
So if you're interested in submitting 2 community questions that we have occasionally, so you're going to hear us poke fun at you and otherwise not answer your questions honestly, you can do so at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, send your hate mail to .gartar.
You scumbag. You
I got you. Low blow. No, actually, I need to see. I'll change my mind when I actually play some Gartar with you one of these days.
I got a game. I got something rigged up, buddy. It's going to be fantastic. Let me tell you. I got it all set up in Tabletop Simulator. We're good to go. You just triggered me, Jay, because Gartar is fantastic.
Yes.
Did you ever hear the last? Did you ever hear the actual play of Gartar? It's available.
Yeah, I've listened to both of them. I've listened to the first one that we did back when our first one that you guys did and everything like that too. And I've listened to both of them, man. And yeah, they're both insane.
I gotta find those because somewhere in those, I believe at the end of one of them, the one that I played with Tony, I asked Tony about what he thought of ICRPG, and I bet you I could find some solid sound nuggets that I could lay down where Tony's like, yeah, it was pretty good. I think I got to look that up. That just reminds me. All right, so you can also get us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show, on YouTube at The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make three-dimensional battle maps for role-playing games and tabletop simulator, among other stuff, like this stuff. You can watch me do this live on Twitch at The Murder Hobo Show, but be warned, it is so rando. Get it? Like the show title, Jay?
Yep, so rando.
Right. Okay. So this is the part of the show where we ask you to check out some of the content creating fellow network members. And today we would like you to take a look at, now I've got FSHS Schmo, but we did that last time. And I told you I was going to touch up the show notes, but I never did. So, well, let's just do him again, man. He plays Shadow of the Demon Lord, Punk Apocalyptic, D-Genesis, and more. So if you're looking to get outside of your D&D comfort zone, look no further.
Excellent. So you can find the things that we discussed, the show notes organized by most recent at the top over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
That's right. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show where we're going to talk about things we know little to nothing about and sound professional doing it. Have a great gaming week. We're out of here. Say goodbye, Jay.
Adios, amigos.